Hello, welcome to Burning Questions, a big show, plenty of technical difficulties as usual. Not my fault. Mattie Craven has been on this show probably more than me, and he's the one that's taken us a little while to get going, but all is well that ends well. Mattie, great to have you on, mate.
Thanks, Tim. I'll blame it for you sending me the wrong technical advice.
Yeah, well, at least you're on the show. Glen Craven just does not reply to messages. Disappointed in him, particularly for a Bombers supporter. I expected a bit more heart, but anyway, we'll forge on without him. Brett Carroll joins us. Brett was having a few troubles too, but he's got it all sorted. His lovely partner walked in behind him, got a bit of a fright, but we are ready to roll. Great to have you on, Brett.
Yeah, no worries. Great to be on, and thanks for Mattie and Eva for joining us.
And Eva's, well, she's lucky to be on this call. She might even be lucky to be with us, full stop, Eva. You've had an eventful morning. Just take us through that.
Oh, yeah, I just had a bit of a incident on the track with one wanting to try and murder me by double barreling, but we're here, so I'm grateful to be here.
Great to see you. You haven't got a scratch on you by the look of it, so maybe you're just overplaying that a bit.
Yeah.
Nothing like a bit of excitement in track work.
Yeah. For sure. Let's get stuck right into it. Big show, Melton, Saturday night, a great meeting, and it starts at 4:55 p.m. Very early start, so don't miss the first. The first sponsor, Prize Easy Feed, stand as a proud supporter of the harness racing industry with their set recipes and quality ingredients to give the trainer confidence in what they're feeding. So make the switch to Pride's and start getting the result you've been chasing. Helluva finally gets his gate, but what does Ewa do with her mate? Race 2 on the card. Gate 1 for Helluva. He finally draws well this campaign. Ewa, what are your thoughts? You hold a lot of keys here. Are you going to try and hold the front, or are you happy to take cover?
It's definitely an interesting one. I've looked at the race multiple times since the fields have come out. If you look at Helluva's form, his last 2 wins have been from in front. And if I was driving him to give him every possible, I would say holding the front would be key. Whereas then you look at, I've got a horse like Triple A on my back, which you'd think the way it's been, the sectionals it's been running off the fence have been sensational. So you'd think when it's on the fence, it's going to improve. So that makes it a bit trickier. So I definitely have options. But I also was looking at the form of Triple A, and every time he's drawn the second row, barrier 8, Greg or whoever's driving him can sometimes struggle to hold the back. So if there is a bit of speed on, he may potentially not be able to hold my back, which will also make it interesting. But I think plan A is to hold the front.
Okay. Yeah, great insight there. And have you got a knife in your hand, by the way?
Yeah, sorry, I do. I realised I showed it up in the camera and I shouldn't have done that.
No, that's fine. Great insight there. I'll hold you till last, Mattie. Brett, I reckon you'd be nodding with agreement on some of those comments from Ewa, because I reckon we've had a similar discussion about Triple 8s maybe lagging up, maybe not even being able to hold the back of Helluva.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. I can't see any reason why Ewa wouldn't be holding the lead. The horse has led 8 times since it's been in the Justice camp, and it's won 5 and finished a close second on the other 3 occasions. The last 2 of those are in really strong country cups. I know Triple 8 can finish hard, but he's had a few hard runs. Last week, 150 out wide. He might be tired. I think Helluva's really on top of his game, so I think it'd actually be pretty close. And I think there's probably maybe 20% chance Matt could drop in behind, and I'm sure Matt will be thinking that'd be a pretty good spot for him. It'd be a big chance if he could do that. So I'll leave that to Matt to let us know what he thinks.
What do you reckon, Mattie?
Well, that would be ideal. And you go back to last week's race, like Helluva began, terrifically well, and I think his sectionals always suggest that he should hold the lead pretty comfortable here. It's just whether Ewa wants to do that or not. And Triple 8 sitting on his back. If that was the case, you'd have to think he'd be the main danger. So if we happen to be able to sneak in behind the lead, it'd be ideal. Like, I know my bloke can begin, pretty quick, but I think he'd have to be getting exceptional to try and cross, Helluva. So we'll just have to play it by ear. And the fence is really key in these races generally. So if we could get there, that would be the ideal case, but we could end up in a tricky spot.
Yeah. Obviously, a $10,000 first four jackpot on this race too. For those tuning in that want to have a bet, it paid outstanding last week. They make a huge difference, don't they, Brett? Maybe just a quick word on the race holistically. Are we being, not mentioning some of these really good horses off the back? District Attorney, Tango Tara, Captain Hammerhead. Are we being a bit disparaging there, or is it just going to be too hard for them?
We're not being disparaging. Yeah, well, you think about what happened last week. They were at 150.7 or something in that first race, and as good as those horses were, Triple Eight, etc., at the back, it was just physically impossible. And it could be similar here. As much as I have respect for District Attorney and Captain Hammerhead, he's right at the top of his game. Ultimate Vinny's going to go behind Triple Eight, so he could fill a hole. So if I was taking a first four, I'd be generally not getting too cute. I'd take Helluva, He's the Son of a Gun, Triple Eight to run 1-2, and throw Ultimate Vinny for third with a few of the obvious ones. The rest of the front row is going to find it very hard, even though I do respect them.
Yeah, I thought that too. Yeah. I really thought sort of just a little sip and further.
It's unlucky first up. The sip was unlucky first up, but he hasn't had the seasoning for this race.
Yep. Good stuff, guys. Really good race. And pity Sam Barker's not driving Ultimate Vinny. He could have gone inside the pegs.
Touche.
Yeah, I'm allowed to chip him. While he's not on. Hey, let's move on to the next one. Combining the power of results and horse sectionals with Sulky app, you now have access to gate speed, swooper, ability, and behaviour ratings. Never miss a trainer, driver, or gear change again. Sulky app is a form guide revolution, and I've got the perfect question for Sulky app. The I Didn't Do It is filled with early speed. So who emerges with the lead? We're looking at the opening race on the card, 4:55 p.m, as I said. No one's involved in this race, so I might start with you, Matty. What are your thoughts here? Lot of speed. Hephaestus Phoenix, Ebony's Avenger, Hatchback, even Iron Love can get out 1, 2, 3, and 4. Who holds the lead, do you think? And then ultimately, who wins the race?
Yeah, look, it's really interesting, and it depends if the old Sundon's Courage turns up. He could lead from 7. He's done that plenty of times and could really put a spanner in the works. But I thought Snooze could hold up from the 1, but be interesting if he can do that. Would he hold the front, or hand up to maybe even John's horse Hatchback? So it'd be really interesting. First sort of run to the post to how the race pans out, and whether they bring the back markers into it after that.
Yeah, what are your thoughts, Brett? I think you think the 1 might be able to hold.
Yeah, Eva has got a drive in this race. Tim, if you had done your homework, you'd realise that. But
no, that's changed, hasn't it?
Is that so?
Yes, I have done my homework, even as recent as now.
Oh, well, what's going on? Who's driving it?
Mr. John Justice is taking the reins of Hatchback.
How can you? Oh, gee. All right. Just my markets. No, well, I'm quite surprised about that. But anyway, I totally agree with Matt. Spot on. The front row is all pretty quick, but I thought the 1 will lead or have the option of not leading, but he has the key. And it's going really good because Standing Start probably wasn't really his go last time, and he still did a good job. But Iron Love was also good in that race. And if you look at Menangle the last couple of weeks, the Gleno camp is really on fire. So I think they're actually the top 2 chances. I'm not dismissing Hatchback, but it'd have to get to the front to be a chance. And I don't think Olivici can win on his last win. A bit controversial, but I actually think Harry Stamper was unbelievable last start. But he was in a mood, as we all saw. But he ran like once he actually got trotting, it was amazing. So he's definitely, I think he's the chance of the back row myself.
Yeah, he's 750s. He might be the best. He might be a great each way play, Brett.
Yeah, another one with the trainer staying on. I would have rather James Herbertson on, to be perfectly honest. Yeah.
You're throwing around a lot of arrows here for Amanda Scriven.
I'm not meaning arrows, no. But you just got to look at the drivers' premiership and, like who's driven more winners frequently, and they're not driving these horses. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, good insight, Eva. You drove Hatchback last week. Just couldn't find the front. You sort of had a couple of goes. I'll tell you what, I thought he went really well. If he gets the front on either of those occasions. He's right there in the finish. He only tied in the last sort of 50, 100 metres. What are your thoughts? Is he any chance of getting over to the front, and will John try?
Yeah, that's right. Last week he was super. He's not a death seat horse. I just, Ebony's Avengers historical form has always shown to hand up, so it was a bit surprising that. But I think John will definitely be going forward, and the reason I was talking to him when the fields come out, Hatchback can pull quite hard up to the mobile, so we decided that John, he can actually hold him off the mobile and give him a flyer. So I reckon, and he got pretty close to crossing, and I'm not sure how, I don't know if John will want to take no for an answer this week, so it could bring the back markers into it. But I think if he, like Hatchback, he's flying, he's just crying out to lead a race because that's his go. And once he's in front, he's pretty hard to get past. It's just a shame that he hasn't been able to this prep. But I think Harry Stamper in that, he was, besides galloping, he was huge last week. So if the lead time is quite solid, it definitely will bring the back markers into it.
That's great insight, Eva. Thanks for explaining it. No, it makes sense when you explain it that way. I'm sorry for sounding disparaging to your father. I didn't mean it that way. But
oh no, I didn't take it that way. No.
Yeah, no, that's really good insight. It's really, really interesting. Makes the race even more fascinating.
Yeah, it does. Great race. When the opening markets came out on Tuesday, there was one horse I thought was overs. He's from 31 into 21 now. I think he's going really well. I don't know where he lands, but I'm going to have something on him, and that's number 6, Chinese Whisper. He was involved in that race, wasn't he, ever? And he worked forward, couldn't get the front, went back to last, and then he finished as across the line with them all. So he's going well. So he's one. If someone wants an each way play on one of the roughies, I think Chinese Whisper is going well. Let's move on to Logical Staffing Solutions, another great sponsor of the show. They provide labour, hire and recruitment services to the transport, warehousing, automotive and manufacturing industries. The logical solution for your staffing needs. We wanted Glen on here, Mattie, but we're going to have to decide it for him. Jillibyjack has the ace draw, so does Glen put his foot to the floor? Race 3 on the card, horse number 1, Jillibyjack Sparrow. Might go straight to you, Brett. What do you think here? He's got good gate speed, but I think you might be thinking another one could lead this.
He's got, obviously he's a flying machine, Jillibyjack Sparrow, but Ricciero Slammer's, just to my eye, one of the quickest horses off the gate I've seen, as in his first 50. He's got the, as Craig Rail would call it, the old shot out of a cannon sort of thing. And it's just, you don't see too many horses like that. And he can come out so quick and then he can relax so quick, which is pretty unusual. And he's the last 12 times he's drawn the front row, he's led. That's a pretty good stat. So if he doesn't cross, I'm pretty sure he can jump in behind, because Non-Peril's a bit like 888 with his speed. He's not quite sure whether he'll keep up. So there's a massive chance that Akiro Slammer can jump in behind or cross. So that'd be my top 2 in the race.
Yeah. Mattie, what are your thoughts here? There's a lot of sort of form lines. They all mix. They've been racing against each other from time to time, and tricky race from my point of view. I think Jillibyjack Sparrow led a race from gate 5 against a few of these 4 or 5 runs ago on 1. Can you do it again?
I would imagine that would be their plan of attack. You see a lot of the time, he's led in his races, and I think a couple of those 1,200 metre races, he was pretty fast out. And I would imagine, although Ricciero Slammers, is pretty quick, you'll have to be very quick. And I would imagine Glen will be wanting to hold the front. It's generally how they drive him, and I imagine this will be no different. And like Brett says, whether it opens up in behind him, that'll be the key to the race, because if Non-Pirelli can hold up, he's going to be a big danger. He's sort of crying out for a run like that.
Yeah. Get back to you quickly, Brett. I know Darren, your brother's tipping Non-Pirelli. Who are you tipping on top?
Well, there's a lot of depth in the race, because the conditions of this race, the horses that didn't get run in the Helluva race, they were able to run in this race. So that's why you've got Cast No Shadow and Sahara Tiger, who are proper 3-4 horses dropping into this race. And Cast No Shadow is actually going really good. So I wouldn't be shocked if it actually ran a nice race. So if I had to force a tip, I would say Ricciero Slammer, just because of the options and the price, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at Sulky app here, Eva. It's not everything, but it paints a good picture. And there's a fair disparity here, like 28.3 for Jillibyjack Sparrow, has a length and a half on Rakiro Slammer drawn inside. So based off that, you would say Jillibyjack Sparrow leads. What are your thoughts here? Who leads and who do you think can win the race?
Yeah, I definitely think, especially being over the 1720, they'll be their plan of attack with Jillibyjack Sparrow, I assume, would be to lead because he's always known to be better over the short distance. And I think I remember once racing him over one of those 1200-meter races, and he just absolutely flies. So I can't really see anything crossing him. And from there, I think his last win over the 1720, he went 154 in front. So I think anything would have to be pretty good to get past him. And I would say the likes would probably come from the fence if he's going to run those times.
Yeah, really tricky race. I really liked Jillibyjack Sparrow early days, but the price has probably been found out. Is he about a 350 chance, Brett, do you think, opening markets, something like that?
Oh, he had to be sub $3, just because he's most likely to lead over a sprint trip. And I know there's class in the race, but it's such a big advantage over the 1720.
Yeah, good race. Not one I'm desperate to get involved in. Let's move on to our fourth and final question. The Beach Fantasy is doing it well from the front, but this time, is he worth the punt? Race 7 on the card. The Beach Fantasy draws barrier 2. Eva, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts here? You're driving La Belle Bijou outside front row. She just can't get a gate, but she's going really well. And I won't forget my encounter with her on Saturday night. She's a handful in the parade ring. She's very bouncy and up on her toes, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. She does that every time, and I think the time she was the worst was when she won. So I'm hoping she's like that again on Saturday night. But yeah, the Beach Fantasy, he's going really good. You can't knock any of his form, but I guess he has stepped up into this grade pretty quickly. And the mare La Belle Bijou, she's kind of a seasoned sort of mare, so I think he will be hard to beat in front if he runs similar sectionals than he did last week. But the way Kari and Paul's mare is going, you can't knock her either.
Yeah. So what are your confidence levels? Do you think you can win?
I do definitely think she can win. It's just she'll have to do it hard again, which will make it a bit difficult. And I think Beach Fantasy ran 154 in front, so she's going to need to do that if he repeats the same thing. She's going to have to do that from the chair. But I do think I definitely think she can win it.
Yeah, Mattie, you've got the emergency here. Better patch me up. What are your thoughts on this race? Race 7 on the card.
Yeah, I'm really hoping we get a run, Tim. If you read the map right, if he could be 3 fence, I'll be pretty pleased with that, which would be ideal. And he's probably been crying out for a run like that. But at the moment, we haven't got a run, so we'll just have to wait and see. It'll be really interesting. Like the Beach Fantasies, his last few have been terrific, and the only probably knock is that he pulled quite hard last week, and he probably can't afford to do that, as he rises in grade. So it'll be really interesting. But if he can lead and relax, and it should be really hard to beat in this. Royal Division was really good last week. He sort of presented to win, but wasn't quite good enough. It was beat by a pretty good mare. So it'd be really interesting to sort of see how he steps up into this grade. But it's a pretty even race. Max and Jax, I think, is he. So, it's going really well. And if they go hard, he'll be getting home pretty strong as well.
Yeah, good race. Brett, how do you see this one?
Yeah, I think Matt and Eva have summed it up pretty well. And I agree. I don't think Beach Fantasy can win this week because of the depth in the race, because of the reasons Matt pointed out. All those wins, I've been following it and supporting it since the stable change, and seems to be doing really well, but hasn't ran a last half quicker than 56.3 in any of those races. And I think it's going to have to do that to win this. So I think La Belle Bijou is just going unbelievable. So it's the last time it drew this barrier, it set in the death over 27.60 and only lost by a nose. And I think it's going better now. And it's last week, that race went 154 mile rate of the 22.40. It was the 6th fastest 22.40 race this season. and every other one faster was either your triple eights or your ladies in red type quality. That's how, and she only tired late. Like, that was a great run. And before that came from last over the 17-20, which is impossible, and ran a place and went fantastic. So
that was against Young Bluey, wasn't it? I reckon. Yeah.
Correct. And yeah, so I think looking at its record, this horse with Ever on usually goes forward. So you would think Ever will be waiting for the dust to settle and doing just that, and hopefully be too strong. But I think Max and Jax is absolutely flying, and the emergency factor actually is pretty big, because Max and Jax trails Beach Fantasy if there's no scratching. But if Matt gets a run, then he gets put out one more on the second row, which is quite significant. So that does change the shape of the race a lot. But I'm sticking with Eva, quite keen on the quality being a bit too strong. Yeah,
good summary. Does that give you a bit more confidence, Eva?
Yeah, and also something else I wanted to add, I forgot to say. Beach Fantasy is not really known for its gate speed, so I thought a horse like Royal Division, if they pressed the button early, I thought he could possibly cross, and then I think that decreases the Beach Fantasy's chances a fair bit more as well. But yeah, it definitely gives me a bit more confidence.
Yeah, for sure. Great summary there. Yeah, I found another tricky race, so that's why I brought the experts in. Mattie, before we get to the best bets, just speaking about Young Bluey there, I was talking on radio the other day. What do you do with why do you have so many horses out of your stable that seem to have that electric speed? Better Isolate, Fighties, there's stacks, and you've got Young Bluey who just he's been doing ridiculous things of late. Can you shed any light or any secrets that you on how you get that speed out of him?
Oh, you just go to the sales and try and buy a fast horse.
I thought you might say that.
And that's what you go in the sales looking for, and you try and buy a really athletic horse that is hopefully fast in the future. And we've been lucky enough to find a few, and they're sort of all very similar, small, compact sort of horses that get over a lot of ground for little horses. And that's what we go to sales, Tim. That's what we're looking for. And we've been lucky enough to find a few, but we're just hoping that one of these will turn into a top liner.
So when they're that fast, Matt. Sorry, Tim. When they're that fast, Matt, do you train them a little bit differently to make sure you don't knock that speed off them?
I definitely train them different to probably what I would have early in my career, and I've probably been a little bit more disciplined to drive them, a little bit more conservative to what I used to, which hopefully will let that speed come to the fore. Where sometimes I was probably guilty of overdriving these fast horses. So yeah, if we can continue to put them in the right spots and let them use their speed late, hopefully they'll continue to run well.
Any more offers from the US for Young Bluey?
Actually, there's been a few calls, but nothing in concrete just yet. So it'd be interesting going forward, but don't really want to sell him. He's nice to have around.
Yeah,
he's a fun horse to watch, mate. So you just wait. You just never know. If you back something else in the race, you're just terrified. Look out!
Yeah, here he comes.
Well, those fast horses are very captivating, aren't they?
Totally.
And it can be sort of sometimes when the races run slower, it can be to their advantage because they are so fast. Sometimes in fast run races, it just takes the brilliance off them. But in a slowly run race, they can look more brilliant, which sometimes is not what people think.
Yeah, no, he's fun to talk. I even went back and watched a replay from Ballarat when he came from nowhere. Like, he just keeps doing it. This campaign, he's just done it time after time. Looking forward to. He's at Terang, isn't he, Mattie? Is he stepping out there next?
Yeah, it's probably. We think the 1700s probably more his go, but it's the Tontine, and it's always been a sort of time-honoured race. So we've kept him for that on Tuesday night at Terang.
Good stuff.
I'm pretty sure someone in Terang will be winning that race. It's pretty.
Yeah.
The crew down the road have got a good hand in it too. Yeah, it's going to be a good race.
Yeah, it's always a really strong race, and something that everyone that's got a nice horse in that grade sort of aims for. It's just a pity that the prize money is not what it should be.
Yeah.
Best bets, guys. Sharp's Bakery best bets, courtesy of the Great Bakery in Birchip. Mattie, we'll go straight back to you. What are you landing on Saturday night at Melton?
Sort of found it quite hard to find anything that really stood out. But I just thought Horticam, one of ours, go on there. He's sort of been knocking on the door, and hopefully he's just a really nice each way chance on Saturday night.
Okay. Stewie Gillespie, he's going to be loving this show. 5 minutes on Young Bluey. Now you're tipping Horticam. Brett, what are you doing with your best bet thanks to Sharp's Bakery?
Yeah, I agree with Matt. It's actually a really tough meeting. Every time you find one you like, you think, you feel on a few riders and a few clauses that might prevent you from winning. But I'm going to stick with La Belle Bijou because I don't think I've seen this horse race better. And I don't think the barrier is that big a deal because she'd probably end up in the same spot from anywhere in the front row anyway. So I'm happy to stick with her.
Okay. Eva, has Brett stolen your thunder there? La Belle Bijou, or are you going with something else on Saturday night?
No, I was going to make her my best bet, but I then decided not to because I have found that I put a curse on myself when I do that. So I thought race 8, number 10, King Xena, was a really good hope in that race. I just was having a quick look, and I think she's 10 point or 11 points better than any horse in that race. So I thought she's been racing really well in the country cups and over the longer distance. So I thought she was a good chance in that race.
Head-to-head with Mattie. Head-to-head with
yeah.
Horticam. Yeah, that's what we like. That's what we like. Good stuff. So race 8, number 10, Kiang Zena, Paddy Lee, Lockie Cook. I'm going with one in the last race. And as you said, Brett, every time you find one is another horse that you think, if that gets the right run, I could get knocked off here. And I'm worried, scared stiff about number 6. Is this just fantasy? But I reckon this shapes up nicely for Quaddy VC. So he draws the good gate, second up in Australia for Andy Gath. He was a little bit disappointing on face value last week, but if you go back and watch, he did run it a bit hard, and he's got a lot of gate speed. Drops back from, I think, the 2,200 down to the 1,720. So, yeah, I think he's going to go very close, and we might get better than $2. So race 9, number 1, Quaddy VC for me, who's not involved in the Quaddy, which is a little sad. That has been a great show, guys. Really appreciate you jumping on. Thanks to Ewa Justice, Brett Carroll, and Mattie Craven. We'll be back next Friday with another edition of Burning Questions. Make sure you tune in for all the coverage at trotsvision.com.au on Saturday night. The first race of 9 to go at 4:55 p.m.